Alrighty, so if you're watching this video right now, you're probably just lost with your life. You don't really know what to do. So maybe you're like regretting your decision on what you chose to major in college. Or again, you don't know what pathway to choose, whether you should go into like hard science or engineering. So you're either regretting your life decisions or you're just lost in life. But hey, welcome to the family because there's millions of others just like you who are like wondering what to do with life. So in this video, I want to share with you at least my personal opinion and my perspectives, my experiences, which is like better to major in and what career path you should choose, whether it's like hard science or engineering. Overall, I'm not here to like decide on which pathway you should choose with your life because overall this is your decision, this is your life. But I just want to give you some advice and like some perspectives to see which career path is better for you. So right off the bat, before we begin, I want to give a little background about me. So I studied chemistry during my undergraduate and I graduated with a bachelor's in chemistry. Then I studied environmental engineering for my graduate school and I got my master's in environmental engineering. So that means I have experience in both fields. I experienced the whole academic journey from undergrad in chemistry to graduate school in engineering, and I have actual work experience in both fields. So I worked in a research lab after graduating from my master's, dealing with like cancer cells. So imagine like a biology major just graduating from college, and then they worked in like a lab. That lab work wasn't really so much different from like working in a research lab or research project that you normally do during like undergrad. And eventually, right now, currently, I am working as an environmental engineer. Still a little bit about me. Sorry, this is like lots of rambling, but why did I make the switch? Why did I go from like hardcore science, chemistry to engineering? It's because I was part of a research group during undergrad, and then that dealt with like the environment and sustainability. So that really just sparked my interest. Then during my undergrad again, I had like a really passionate professor who would like really push on towards sustainability and climate change. And so that just really not only sparked my interest, but that really got me like involved in thinking about the future. And that's really why I started to like think about environmental related studies. And so that's like the whole spiel about me. But now let's actually jump into now the main reason why you're watching this video. And so this will be a comparison between me being a research associate working that lab job to currently right now as an environmental engineer. All right, so the first thing on the list, comparing between hard science and engineering, like the elephant in the room is the pay. How much are you getting paid? Because that's really what most people care about, right? When you're going to school, you care about what am I going to get paid after this. So I'll be picking a chemist and an environmental engineer. I'm going to be comparing these two, a chemist and an environmental engineer. And I'll be using two different websites to compare the pay salary. So the first one is using Payscale.com, and the other one is from the BLS, the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So according to Payscale, an average chemist makes median pay is $56,000, while an environmental engineer using the same Payscale website averages around $65,000 a year. So we're comparing apples to apples in a way. You're using the same website, a chemist to an environmental engineer. The median salary is $56,000 for the chemist and $65,000 for the environmental engineer. Now let's move on to what the Bureau of Labor Statistics says. So according to the BLS, a average chemist, the median pay is $78,000 a year, while again using the same BLS website, an environmental engineer makes $88,000 a year. So again, the same website, just different comparisons between different positions. Chemist makes $78,000, environmental engineer makes $88,000. I honestly think that this is true. So during my previous position as a research associate, I made like $63,000 a year, and right now I'm making $78,000. Engineers do end up making a lot more than like a hardcore science major, but the many factors that really affect how much you get paid could depend on like the location of where you're living, the years of experience that you have, maybe the type of college degree that you're graduating with. So comparing a bachelor's to a master's or a PhD, and your negotiating skills for when they give you like your offer letter. So that is itself a pretty big factor. The next thing on the list is a work-life balance. So again, going back to my personal experience as a research associate, I worked there Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to like 5 p.m. Although some days were like up to 7 p.m. So mine was salary based. It didn't really matter whether you stay there the whole time or like half the day because it's salary based, so long as you get the job done. I wasn't like micromanaged at the job, but I was sort of compelled to stay like until 5 p.m. or later, or until like all my other coworkers left, just because my job was sort of not too difficult. I just felt like I had to do it just to be like a good person or like a good employee, although I don't recommend that you do this. My boss didn't specifically say when I should leave, so I just felt like, again, compelled to stay the whole day. So that's my experience as being a research associate, again, hardcore science. Now let's move on to my current position as an environmental engineer. So this job is much better. I work Monday through Fridays with alternating Fridays off. So how that works is like Monday through Thursday is 9 hours and one Friday is 8 hours. So 9 times 8 is 72 hours for the Monday through Thursday, and then one Friday is 8 hours. And I get a one Friday off. So that's the cool thing about my current position. Again, this won't always apply to what you're doing. In this current environmental engineering job, I'm also not micromanaged. So it's very chill, so long as I get my job done. And I can also leave my work to do whatever field work I have to do. So I can just leave my office and just go out in the facility, go out in the field, and make sure that I'm doing what I need to do. So really I have a lot of freedom, and I'm not like super glued to the office all the time. I can always just leave. And lastly is growth. So not only like potential personal growth, but like career growth. So as like a research associate, I worked in a very small private company. I only had like one manager, and the rest of us coworkers were like his subordinates in a way. And the only way to like grow in that company was to either overtake him or like get your own PhD and like make up your own project basically. And there's no way like my current manager was gonna leave, so like there's really no way you can go up except getting a PhD and like creating your project. But then that itself, the company would need to like open up a position for that. So it's not possible really unless some super higher up would allow that. So basically, in hardcore sciences, you cannot really grow that much unless you get like a higher degree where you gain like years and years of experience. When I'm talking years, I'm talking like 5 to 10 years of experience just climbing that corporate ladder. To me personally, taking that route would not be really practical just because it would take like 5 years to get a PhD and it would take like 5 years of experience to like, climb that corporate ladder. And so like the opportunity cost or the time it would take for me to get that PhD versus just me working, it didn't really make sense to go on and like get a higher degree. It would just end up taking too long. So for the most part, the end result is that the potential growth for like staying in a hardcore science is not really that much. So basically, it sucks because you're honestly stuck where you are, and the only way you can grow up is just to gain experience if you don't decide to go and like get a master's or a PhD. And also realize that itself, taking that route, going for extra schooling, that can take a lot of time and also a lot of money. So take that into consideration when you're deciding what to do with your life. Now moving on to environmental engineering. What's the growth in environmental engineering? So currently I'm working still for a pretty small company. I also still only have one manager, but the opportunity to learn in this company is a lot more than in the hardcore science research associate position. I'm able to learn a lot because I work with a lot of diversity. I work with a lot of different people from different fields. So I'm on the same floor as like civil engineers, as architects, as the military, just because I work in a military base, work with construction workers, and other contractors. So I get to meet with different people, doing different projects, doing different things, and just learn from them like personally. I also cannot really grow that much in terms of like, unless my manager leaves, then I cannot really overtake his position. But the good thing is that with me being like an engineer, all I need to do really is get like my professional engineer license to move on forward. I don't need to go back to school to get like a master's or a PhD. I could just get my bachelor's degree in whatever engineering, get my EIT, my engineering training certificate from like your state, then get a professional engineer license or certificate, and then now you're like a professional engineer. You don't need to get a master's or a PhD to do all this. All you need to do is get a bachelor's, get a PE, and you're good to go. You get paid an extra like $10,000 or $20,000 just because you have that little certificate called a professional engineer. Yes, you will have to take a test. Yes, you'll have to study, but it's not like you're committing 5 years of your life just to get some degree, just to like move forward with your life. It does take time to like do well on this test, but you don't have to like commit years of your life just to go back to school. And I've heard from like other engineer friends and coworkers that really all they cared about was like getting their PE, like getting your master's and your PhD. According to like their boss and their manager, they said that I'm not going to pay you more just because you have like a college degree. Just get your license and you're good. And also getting a license will like allow you to switch different companies, so you're not always stuck on that one company. Once you get your PE, you're way more flexible and you're way more open to opportunities. So in the end, this is still pretty biased of me just because I'm working as an environmental engineer, but because I've worked in my previous career as like a hardcore science research associate, I can still sort of agree to some extent that this is pretty much true. In my opinion, being an engineer is way better than working for sciences. So right off the bat, you have a higher pay, and you can pretty much just get paid higher. Like say a bachelor's in engineering is equivalent to like a master's in chemistry. Most likely, you can only like grow forward in the sciences if you get like a higher degree, which again to me isn't worth the time. You have more flexibility and freedom in engineering, so you're not like always glued to the lab. You can't just like leave the lab or leave your facility if you're working on your experiment, dealing with like cancer cells or doing some sort of lab work. But in engineering, you just go out your office and just go to the field and do whatever you need to do. You get to like stretch your legs and again do whatever you want. This means you could actually like travel. Sometimes working as an environmental engineer makes you have to travel. So you have to travel to different facilities, different sites. Maybe if you don't like traveling, this might be the job for you, but for the most part, you are allowed to travel. Sometimes they require you to travel. And engineering allows you to grow more just because you don't have to go back to school. That's really it. You get to meet a lot more people just because you deal with a lot of people in environmental engineering. So you deal with people like inspectors, local or government, deal with like business managers, construction workers, other contractors. So again, a whole pool of different people, different fields. But for like hardcore sciences, if you're working in a lab, you're probably only going to be dealing with like other scientists, with people with the same knowledge as you, maybe like business managers just because they might want your product or something. So it's really just a very limited pool of people that you're going to be dealing with if you're going for hardcore sciences. Yeah, so that's my take on engineering versus like hardcore sciences. From my very biased opinion, engineering is the way to go. I know like engineering is sort of hard to think about just because it's so normalized as being like super difficult to major in or to graduate from, and you're just gonna be dealing with a lot of people. You're gonna be very smart, but it's not really always the case. But also, don't worry about it too much, just because I mean, people who are watching this, you guys are probably still young, and the fact that you're actually like thinking about what is the right choice for me, that means that you're thinking about it. So you're like taking a step in the right direction. At least you're looking, and at least you're learning and realizing what is right for you. Hopefully this video helps you in deciding what career path to choose from. And with that being said, I'll see you in the next video.